officially ready to start this off. If you knew how many times I've restarted this and restarted this, then it'd be pretty hilarious and kind of not worth it at some point. But I'm still gonna do it. I've told myself I'm gonna dedicate myself to doing things more that I tell myself I want to do. So there goes that. I guess I should start with my name. My name is Ty, and this podcast is Everything Under the Sun, and I'll be your host. There may be other people on the show from every now and then. I may have a guest, a special guest. They won't be special to you because you won't know them, but they'll be special to me, maybe, because I know them and I'll need someone else to fill in the empty space that may happen in this podcast. So, again, this name of the podcast is Everything Under the Sun. And if you need more detail as to what that is or what's going to be covered in it, just refer back to the title because it's very concise, it's very clear, and it tells you exactly what the topic is that will be discussed. So, yeah, no, this is basically going to be a show about everything under the sun, like it says, everything that involves the people that are under the sun, the places, the things, all the nouns. Nouns? Yeah, people, places, and things are nouns. That's what school taught me. And yeah, because I mean, like everything affects us. Like we get so focused on, like politics, or we get so focused on like, sexuality. We get so focused on like, all these like topics that are just uh, so divisive. And of course, they're very important. They're very much part of who we are and makes up who we are as people in this world. But at the end of the day, it's like we're people with a conglomerate of things that affect us in our lives, and a lot of times those aren't things that are necessarily spoken about in the public eye. I mean, like shit, like most of the time you're like with yourself, you're not thinking about politics unless you're a politician, or you're not thinking about these other things unless that's your occupation. But for most people, everyone, we experience life as a whole, like the good times, the bad times, like the exciting times, like the really stale times. It's a connection and a unity in all of those aspects that makes us who we are and makes life what it is, and that's what this podcast is going to be speaking about all those different things. So every episode is going to be a different episode with a different topic of discussion. I'd love to hear different topics from different people. If you want to email or write in, I will make sure to give all that information of social media and emails and stuff like that at the end of the episode, just so you don't forget it. And yeah, give me some feedback. I have tons of topics that I'm going to speak about. Obviously, you're already on hand because everything under the sun. I mean, I could literally talk about pencils if I wanted to, but that's not one of the topics, fortunately. But I mean, the point is that there's so many things that affect us, and there may be things that affect other people in the world that haven't affected me. Like I do not share the same experience as everyone else, and everyone doesn't share the same experience as me. Like it doesn't matter where you come from or where you're at. It's like we may share similar experiences, but there are so many experiences that are also very unique to different people in different parts of the world. So please feel free to give feedback on what's being spoken about. If I misspeak in any kind of way, which I most likely will in many cases, then please just email me an angry email or something, maybe an angry written letter. Whatever the case is, just don't, no death threats. That's the bottom line. Please send those in. Well, not the death threats, the comments and concerns regarding what's spoken about in this podcast, and please just like some feedback on what I could do better, what I can speak more about. If you think I'm rambling on too much, because sometimes I do get thrown off topic, so. Again, this show is going to speak about everything. It's going to be very inclusive of all people, and I'm hoping that it doesn't turn into something that's too opinionated from an outside perspective, or something that seems too inclusive or not inclusive in a certain way. I mean inclusive as in probably not in the way that I meant it. I meant to say non-inclusive. So meaning as in like if I ever seem like I'm speaking about topics that just like aren't relevant to you or to people or to people as a whole. I'm sure if I get a lot of emails saying that like, hey, I know what a fucking pencil is, like I don't want to hear about that. I'll take that and I'll consider it. If you write me a letter, I might just throw it into the trash or burn it. I'm kidding. But no, I'll take all your feedback, and I love to hear about it. This podcast is going to be something that changes. Change is something that happens under the sun. Everything under the sun happens under the sun, and including change. It's something that's inevitable. So this podcast will change. I will change. You will change. I'm speaking directly to you, you as a person, and you're gonna change. I mean, it's an inevitable fact of life. So this podcast will change along with that, and it will fluctuate, and a lot of that will depend on your feedback and the things that you would like to bring. Uh, so yeah, that's what this podcast is going to be about. I hope that was clear and concise, even though that was about a 6 minute overview of what this show is, and maybe not completely necessary. But thanks again for tuning in. Thank you for bearing with me. If you want to burn your phones afterwards, I completely understand. But uh, I hope that I can do some justice to this podcast. So there again, every episode is going to be very different, and today's episode is going to be focused on solo ventures, and it's a topic that a lot of people kind of don't think too much about. I mean, like when I'll talk more about this later, but when I googled solo ventures, it came up as literally people traveling, like traveling by yourself, which is a great aspect of solo venturing, but um, it's not it's not the whole thing of it. And just like I was saying, how life is a conglomerate of all of these different things that make up the experiences of the things that we do and the place that we go and the people that we meet. Solo ventures are also part of that, and that's the endeavor of life, as an individual, in going through not only just like traveling places by yourself, but embarking on social interactions by yourself. Like, just because it's a solo venture doesn't mean that you're inherently by yourself, but think about it, like you're with your thoughts most of the time, and people aren't necessarily in your head. I mean, maybe you have other people in your head. I don't know your life, but if that's not the case, then, like, you're with your own thoughts, and you may share those with other people, but at the end of the day, it's like you are on that solo venture. And we'll speak more about like mind and connection and all other stuff. So if you believe in like the uniformity of life and all that stuff, then we will delve into that. But as a concept, solo ventures is something that we'll delve more into. But also being part of this is a huge change up, but also being part of this podcast is, I mean, again, it is everything under the sun, and it's more than just America where this is being filmed, and more than just California where this is being recorded. Nothing is being filmed. But where this is being recorded, I mean, the world is so much bigger than this. And with that, I want to bring kind of just an aspect of just world news, like things that affect the world in some kind of way. And every episode will, I mean, I'm hoping I can hold myself accountable for something like this, but it's just, staying on top of just like something that reverberates around the world, and causes like everyone on different continents from different backgrounds to maybe say something about it, or have an opinion about it, or feel some kind of way about it. And that's kind of what is all relevant, because I mean, not all news is necessarily relevant to you specifically, but it doesn't mean it's not relevant to anyone. And therefore I mean, that's what makes it news, is that to someone it's relevant. But uh today, I mean, like, this is solo ventures. I mean, that's the talk for today, and I think that it goes really well with the news article that I decide to speak about, or the topic of news that I decide to speak about. And this is something that isn't new to anyone that's been on the internet or anything within the last week, and that is obviously the death of the NBA star Kobe Bryant. And that's something that, I mean, that's really big news for a lot of people. I wasn't personally a basketball watcher. I don't watch very many sports on television at all, but somehow his death did affect me in some kind of way. I felt very saddened actually by his death, but more so the death of, just like, he and his daughter were on that together, and there were 7 other people aside from them that were on that, and family members of each other, loved ones of each other. They were associates of each other, and it's just very heartbreaking. So I mean, even though I didn't know any of those individuals, and I didn't feel like I knew them in any kind of way. I think I'm just being very repetitive right now. The point is that like I still felt something. I think as humans, that is just something that we innately feel, is that connection to other humans. And although we don't know them personally, or maybe we don't agree with certain things that they may have done in their lives, or places that they have been, or not a fan of, or of a fan of whatever it is that they do. I think it's like it's something that's just important for all of us to take solace in understanding that we're all human and that we do need to be together in that. But one thing with this news article, and well, this news of this NBA star, is that his death. I mean, he was such a superstar in that account, that his death did overshadow, and not intentionally, obviously, like but it did overshadow. I believe the other deaths that were included in that time, and I think that's what I kind of wanted to speak more about, because with not being a fan of basketball, I'm not not a fan. I've just never followed the sport. I've never followed any sports. I'll watch the sports. I think it's incredibly athletic. I mean, like the things that athletes do. I mean, I only aspire towards doing those things, and I mean, I still aspire towards just being an athletic individual. But I mean, the things that these people have accomplished. I mean, any major athlete, I think that's truly amazing. And um, Kobe Bryant was an amazing athlete. I mean, I've only read some of the statistics, and I'm not going to go into them now because I'm going to sound like an idiot if I try to speak about them. But the point is that he was such a superstar in that account, that his death, I mean, naturally did overshadow the deaths of the other individuals that were there, and not overshadowing in like necessarily like um disregarding type of way. I don't believe that anyone would intentionally disregard the deaths uh or like the ending of the life of other individuals, but it's something that just kind of naturally happens. Um and unfortunately, this happened to me as well. I had a friend that went to my undergrad that actually passed away the same day as Kobe Bryant, and I didn't hear about that until 3 days after. And maybe that's my fault for not being, as socially connected, and or not going online as much as I should, or just like not speaking to people as much as I should to stay on top of information about friends from college. But at the end of the day, it's this news was something that overshadowed that, where I feel like it just pervades many different avenues. And I don't want to go too much into detail with this, but I did just want to speak some about the other individuals that had passed away in that plane crash. So as we all know, a total of 9 individuals died in that helicopter crash. I said plane crash, and I will make many mistakes throughout this podcast, and I hope that you all know that and don't take it too seriously in that regard. If I say plane, I mean helicopter. If I mean plane, then that's what I meant. I don't know. The point is, total of 9 deaths, including Kobe and his daughter, were in that helicopter crash. And I guess just like a little information, Kobe and his daughter Gianna were on their way to Thousand Oaks, which is where Gianna's basketball team was, her AUU basketball team. And this was actually at Kobe's Mamba Sports Academy institution, which was an institution that he created for, I believe, I mean, I read multiple articles just regarding this, but I believe he created this institution to help individuals that are in areas that don't have like they don't have the financial means or the opportunities to pursue athletic sports with their schools, or just like don't have that opportunity. And I think that he created this to not only help individuals pursue sports and engage in those activities that they probably wouldn't be able to do before, but they can also have a place to kind of feel safe and grow as athletes, and feel like that was something that they could be part of. So I think that's really amazing accomplishment that he created. But so they were on their way to Gianna's AU basketball team in Thousand Oaks, and that's why they were on the helicopter that day. The others in the crash included John, Carrie, and Alyssa Altabelli. I hope I'm not butchering that last name, but they were, I mean, all have the same last name, mother, father, daughter, all in this plane crash. John was actually the head baseball coach at Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, and Alyssa, the daughter, played on the same team as Gianna, so they were actually teammates on the way to the same on the way to the same practice as Gianna was going to. The another member was, I mean, another individual that was on the plane was Christina Mauser, and she was the basketball coach at Harbor Day School in Newport Beach, and that was a school that Kobe's daughter actually went to, not Gianna. I believe it was the younger daughter, not the youngest, but the younger daughter. I could be wrong. And Christina Mauser was known as the mother of defense in the basketball, as the basketball coach. And I mean, I really do just want to highlight some of this because there are so many people that know the lives of, Kobe, but these other individuals. I mean, even the article that I had only had such brief details about this, and the information I'm getting this from is you can get the full detail at CBS News. There's probably about 20 articles that you'll have to sift through, but it's one of the articles that speaks about the other individuals that passed away in the helicopter crash. But Christina Mauser, mother of defense, she was renowned for her defensive strategies on the team, and I think helped bring the team to multiple victories in that regard. I could be making all this up again, but I'm just kind of recollecting from what I picked up from the article that I didn't write down. So, two of the other individuals in the plane crash, Sarah and Peyton Chester, that's mother and daughter. Sarah was the mother and Peyton was the daughter. Peyton was middle school age and also a teammate of Gianna, so there were 3 teammates total on the aircraft. They were all going to the same game. The mother and the child, they were both known as lights among the family. They were just bright individuals, cheerful, very knowledgeable. Peyton was, from what the article is saying, and I mean, these people were loved. They had people that loved them. They have people that love them. People that are still mourning them, and apparently they all had connections that were a lot bigger than like what I had even understood. I mean, I didn't realize that Gianna had other teammates on there with her, which would make sense why they were all traveling together. But this kind of makes that experience very different because as I think about it, I think, just like what were those last moments like, and I imagine it being with, complete strangers amongst each other, but a lot of these people knew each other. And the last victim of this accident was Ara Zambian. Zambian. I'm butchering that name, but Ara Zambian. He was the pilot of the helicopter, and he's been a pilot of Kobe Bryant's for many years, and I'm assuming like these other individuals have flown with him before. I think he's been a renowned pilot in many accounts. I think a lot of different people that take helicopter rides in that area have flown with him or flown in that aircraft. I've read multiple articles of individuals saying that they've flown on that aircraft as well, and it is something shocking to kind of just realize like, wow, I could have been on that aircraft at that time. But our Zobian, Ara was the pilot, and the FAA, which was Federal Aviation Administration, stated that he had a commercial certification since 2007 and was well qualified to fly during bad weather conditions, which is what they believed was the cause of the accident. Whereas they were flying, the fog was too dense, there was no visibility, and the pilot kind of had to just go off of the gauges in the helicopter pad. This is kind of just like what I'm going off of, so I hope I'm not miscalculating any of the information or misstating any of the information. But so he had qualifications to fly in weather like that, but apparently from what I read in one of the articles, that helicopter should not have actually been flying in those weather conditions because it didn't have the proper technology or equipment to gauge land masses or how close the ground is when there is inclement weather. So it didn't have the proper materials to gauge off of that. I was reading an article saying that like in normal conditions, the when there's a loss of visibility, the pilot has to go off of just what's on the dashboard, like the gauges and stuff, and it can be disorienting if you're not specially trained for that. So apparently, Ara was trained in doing that, but this plane didn't have the full equipment to actually like properly gauge that. And I don't want to I don't want to misstate anything. So again, like if there's anything wrong or misinformation that I'm giving, please feel free to tell me about this. Again, I love hearing feedback. I love just knowing that I'm wrong and correcting myself, because there's no sense in life of being wrong and kind of staying that way. So those are all the individuals. I'm gonna just read them one more time, just so we can kind of have a just a full overview. So that's obviously Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna Bryant, John, Carrie, Alyssa Altobelli, Christina Mauser, Sarah and Peyton Chester, and Ara Zobayan. Those are the 9 victims of the helicopter crash that happened on Sunday the 27th, I believe. I could be completely wrong, but those are all the individuals that passed away in the helicopter accident. And I chose this not only because it's news that has pervaded throughout the entire world. I mean, I've heard people all over the world commenting on this, and I had no idea how big Kobe was as a world icon, which actually really surprises me. Just like lets me know that like just sports that are in America. I already knew like football was becoming a little more international. Soccer is like something that's already international, but basketball, the NBA, I didn't realize like that pervaded and influenced so many lives outside of the United States. So just hearing the outpour of individuals that are affected throughout the world is it's really remarkable. But a big thing of why this is so important is not only the fact that it's a constant reminder that we should cherish the ones around us. We should value and always tell them that we love them and that we care about them, because any second can be that last. And I mean, it just happens out of nowhere, and it's really just, I think the shock of it all, the surprise of it all with deaths like this is it's really that inability to really have any type of true peace in lasting moments. Like you can't sit by their bed and hold their hands, and that's really a real testament of just like life and how instant it can be taken away, you know. And it's just something that it shouldn't bring us fear, more so bring us an inspiration to live life to the fullest, while in this moment, because again, we don't know if the tomorrow is going to be there. We can say, yeah, like we'll do that tomorrow, or yeah, like I'll take you there tomorrow, or whatever that is. It's like tomorrow isn't certain. So even if today, if that's not possible, like doing exactly that, like make today worth something, you know. Even if that just means like calling someone that you haven't called in a long time, and you know, tell them that you love them, tell them that you're thinking about them, that you know, you're hoping that they're doing well. Just anything that just like makes that a lot more worthwhile, because you know, again, at the end of the day, it's like these are solo journeys that we're going on, and we meet people and we get connected with people, and they become part of that journey in a way. Even though we're doing these journeys on our own, even though we're doing them on our own, we have people that join us along the way, and will walk arm in arm with us, and that we get connected to, and that we value, and that we grow, and that we can take that next step into life, knowing that part of our life journey, part of who we are, part of what makes us who we are, and brings us to where we are in life, is the experiences, the internal things that like we come to understand in our lives, but also the other people that influence us in all these different ways. uh, and that is something that's so critical to take into account for this. Um, so solo journeys, I think that not only is this starting of the podcast being a solo journey that I'm embarking on, but there's this idea of just life being this solo journey in general, and how, although it's something where, obviously we're joined with other people at different times, we also find ourselves in deep contemplation. I mean, like, maybe you're listening to this podcast with someone else, but maybe you're listening to by yourselves, and with that, you're gonna have your own thoughts. You're gonna have your own feelings. You're gonna have your own responses. Maybe you want to throw your phone out the window. Maybe some other people want to just like keep listening to it. But whatever it is, it's like it's a different experience to the different people that are going through it. And even if you are listening to it with someone else in the car with you or in the space with you, you're still not thinking the same exact thing. Like, you're thinking and feeling different things at this very moment, and that's what makes life so special. And the fact that we can be together in these amazing moments, but also still be on our own life path, and that's something that's so critical. So, as I stated earlier, I googled solo journeys, and it's so strange that on the big internet web, like, there's, I sound like an older person. Um, on that big old internet, no, on the internet, I googled solo journeys, and I kind of expected to just get some information on like what people perceived as solo journeys, the experience that people have on solo journeys, like kind of just like that kind of Gandhi experience, or that internal movement in some way, or maybe even a physical representation of like a solo journey in life, like some kind of venture capitalist speaking about their journey towards success in some kind of way, and all of these are solo journeys. I mean, like, a lot of times, like, they involve a lot of people, but it really takes that motivation, it takes that confidence, it takes that understanding of self, and that understanding of what you really want in that moment, or what you don't want in that moment. I mean, even that can guide you towards the things that, like, the things and the places that, like, you want to go, and the things and like you want to do. So I googled solo journey, and it came up as only traveling, and I think that's really amazing and enlightening to understand that, like, that in the way that we organize information and put it together on this platform, the culmination of all this information on solar journeys comes down to traveling. And although you can do that, and it's truly amazing to travel by yourself, you gain so much, you learn so much about yourself, you learn so much about, like, what you like, what you dislike, where you want to go, and like, you don't have to really be bound by other people and other circumstances. And I think that actually does pervade so many other avenues, just like those benefits of traveling solo. Uh, so I think it's like really important to begin to look at solo journeying as like something that isn't necessarily just part of traveling, but it's part of this like culminative experience. And I found this quote that I think is truly amazing, because it speaks about traveling, solo venturing and traveling, but the words within the quote speak volumes to things so much more expansive than just traveling. So this is the quote: "As you travel solo, being totally responsible for yourself, it's inevitable that you will discover just how capable you are." End quote. Exclamation point. Um, I think that that's something that's just, it speaks to life in general. Life is a solo journey, like I stated before, and as you travel, completely responsible for yourself, completely just like in control of your own actions. And a lot of times we may feel bound by circumstances, we may be bound by the environment that we're in, but within your own psyche, like, like, sometimes we're actually even bound in that way, like just stuck in some ways. And but when you go on this journey, and I think going on a solo journey means intentionally embarking on something that you know is going to be scary, you know it's going to be new, and you know that you're going to have to handle this on your own. And whether that means handle it by gaining that courage to ask for help, ask for assistance in some kind of way, or figuring it out your own. It's like, either way, like, when you embark on a solo journey, you are intentionally going on something that's going to be scary and new, and ultimately something that you're doing on your own, doing by yourself. So I looked at that quote and I'm like, okay, so maybe I was looking too generally. So I looked at I googled solo life journeys, and still it just came up as traveling. And this just tells me that there is a severe lack of discussions about like these culminating experiences that make up the very way that we live life, make up the very experiences that that make life what it is. And I think that that's it's really saddening to kind of see it in that way, but it's also like so expansively like eye opening in allowing us to fill in those gaps with the things that we want to fill it in with, and that's having those conversations that mean much more to us, having those discussions that kind of fill in the gaps, that says, hey, wait a minute, like this isn't what I describe this to be, or this isn't like how I describe life to be, or whatever it is. It's like it removes those boundaries, it erases those lines, and allows everything else to be so much more expansive. So looking at a solar journey, we can see that it's it's almost as if it's like the conversations are kind of like life and death. It's like we don't speak about these concepts at all, yet they are within the very essence of our life. I mean, like we have to be born and we all die, and and yet this isn't something that is discussed, and that in itself, I mean, if life being the solar journey, yet we don't speak about the beginning and the end of it, the beginning of the end of this life, then what exactly are we speaking about? What are our conversations consisting of, and where are we getting any like where are we growing anywhere from it? And I think that all of us want to grow in some kind of way. We want to learn. We want to be better. We want to be that person that we know that we are, and a lot of that takes that recognition that the boundaries that have been alluded to, that we feel as though is a structure of our life, it's not so. And you can just Google like specific things about life, not like specific facts. I mean, like if you look up like how blood works or something like that, obviously like there's, you know, how blood works. If I mean obviously there's real science behind that, but I mean like just about these concepts that really are the overarching thing, where it's like, you know, like blood is blood, but it's like what does it mean to be alive? Like why do we have blood? Like why are we born in these bodies? Like I mean there are so many, like I mean of course those are so existential, but it just really does open that boundary to where it can be everything from just a solar journey in traveling to being a solar journey in this entire existential experience of life, and what that all means. Uh, so again, solo journeys. This podcast is it's it's a big it's a big step, and like I said, like solar journeys, when you intentionally go on them, you're going on something that you know is going to be new, you know it's going to be different, you know it's going to be scary in some kind of way. Like and that fear is something that makes it something that's worthwhile. It makes it something that helps you to grow. It helps you to learn about what you're capable of. Just like that quote says, you will truly find out what you're capable of going on these solo ventures of yours, like embarking on these things that you're truly passionate about. So, I mean, just to think about even starting this podcast. I mean, I'm going to use this as an example, and I don't mean to just like speak about this, like excessively, but I mean, it was just big to even think about starting this, and I think that in itself is discouraging. I mean, it discouraged me in multiple ways. I mean, like there was so much intimidation regarding the start of it, which led to a lot of procrastination. I mean, I I could have started this so long ago, but I kept getting in my own head. I kept telling myself like, oh, like it's not going to be that great, it's not going to be, you know, anything that people are going to be interested in. I'm not going to be able to get all the components together. I don't know if it's like something I want to invest in. All these things that just like got me to stop, or to stop even thinking about it, to not even move forward in the pursuit of even starting it. And I think that's what was that's what's so discouraging, I think, in the onset, is really just like those thoughts that are within yourself that stop you from doing the things that you truly believe in, or the things that you truly want to do for yourself. So I mean, I guess I can't really say too much. This is only the first episode. I could probably just stop today if I wanted to, but I just I know that those what if questions, those questions that, what if it's not good, or what if it's not something that can work out, or what if I'm not motivated, or what if I don't have anything to say, all those what if questions that stopped me from even recording this first episode. I think it's an immense step in even just moving past all of them and doing that in the first place. And I think that that's something that pervades so much more beyond this. And again, like that, this podcast is just an example, because I don't really care about how you feel about, like, I don't really, I don't mean I don't care about how you feel. I don't care about um I don't care that you care about how this process started for me. More or less, I just want to get across this idea of all of these things can get in the way of starting a journey on your own. But when you realize that life is already a solo journey, then like that just it makes it so much more free. And the thing that you get from it, like the things that you personally, intrinsically, you know, that you get from this experience is something that can be truly amazing for you if you allow yourself to go on that. Like the quote said, you will truly realize how capable you are once you embark on the things that you want to do, whether it's, starting a new job, going back to school for something, pursuing a person that you were interested in, that you kind of kept on, saying that you didn't want to do. A lot of these involve other people and involve other things outside of ourselves, but truly the place where it starts is from yourself. And that's why it's a solo journey. I mean, like, that's why life itself is a solo journey, because it takes you within yourself to make that decision to embark on that journey for yourself. And once you do that, it enforces self-confidence. You have a better understanding of the strength that you have, and like your ability to do the things that you truly want to do. And that's what it is. It's like it gives you that motivation, that like initiative, that it gives you that like that push to say, like, you know what, I can pursue the things that I'm passionate about. And all these thoughts that are keeping me from doing that are only thoughts. And and once I take that next step forward, even if it's just filling out an application, even if it's just, you know, talking to that person, like maybe in a different way, or asking them out on a date, or whatever it is, like whatever that journey is that you're pursuing, that action is that you're pursuing, or whatever it is that you're trying to get to, just do it. And at the end of the day, it's like, if it doesn't work out, then the worst possible situation. I mean, like, you've probably already thought of the worst possible outcome for everything that you want to embark on. And if that worst possible outcome did happen, like what's so bad about it? I mean, of course, that worst possible outcome is death, and like maybe you should consider that option a little bit more, like not the option of death, but consider, your options before. But like in most options, in most things that we want to do in our lives, it's not a life or death situation. Even though we feel like it's going to be a life or death situation, even though we feel like if they say no to us, then like we're gonna be crushed, and we're gonna sit in a corner for weeks until we starve to death and cry ourselves to death, and it's just gonna be the worst experience ever. No, that's not exactly how it's gonna work. And of course, that's how we feel. I mean, hell, I felt that way multiple times, but it's not. And once you embark on that journey, once you embark on that and move past all those thoughts, then you can truly begin to like realize that this solo journey of yours can be exactly in everything that you want it to be, as long as you continue to pursue the things that you want to do and stay motivated towards those things. So, and I can't stress enough how little you should think about doing these things before you actually do them. Just don't even think about it, just do them. Obviously, there are circumstances, um, like jobs, income, things like that. But, at the end of the day, you can just quit your job, sell your house. I mean, because all you really need is a notebook and a piece of paper and a dream. That's all you need for these things. No, but circumstances are obviously a situation. So if you can't quit your job, obviously, then, just stay motivated to pursuing the things that you want to do. Uh, keep that job that you want keep information on it. Like stay updated with whether it's going to be there or not, or what qualifications you need. If you're working towards those qualifications, get yourself a notebook, a piece of paper, and a dream. Start writing down like all that shit that you need to write down in order to get like to where you need to go. But I'm gonna stop rambling on about this. It's been well over the time that I said I was going to start for or do for this podcast, but uh, yeah, that's that. So thank you for listening. Rate, review, and subscribe, please. That helps out a lot. I think I have no idea actually how much that helps out, but I'm pretty sure it does because everyone keeps saying it. If you want to send those emails in, like I was saying earlier, the email to this podcast is everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. And there is no dot between the Sun podcast. So everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. This is new. I want it to evolve. I want it to grow. It's not going to be the same as this first episode. I mean, the format may be generally the same, but for the most part, it's going to get a lot better. I'm going to get a lot more microphone comfortable, and it's just going to be like sweet serenades. So I love you all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of what's left of your day, and I will see you next time.